you join me in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our study session, first of the month. Would you like to go over your report?
Yep, I sent it to Augie, so you should have it there. Times are good, busier month, so I think there's 89 calls for the month. So we have 3 advanced providers that are almost finished with their clinicals, so hopefully we'll have 3 more advanced providers here soon. So other than that, things have been going pretty smooth. Anybody got any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yep.
Samantha?
For Horizon Health, we had 195 911 calls, up from 174 the year previous, still about 6.5 a day. Remain within all of our contracted times. We did see a little bit increase back in service time. Some of that is due to the fact that our transferring centers are still pretty full, so having to transport a little bit farther out, several trips to Indianapolis this month. 9 emergent transfers, 27 non-emergents, those were down from the month previous. 2 fire standbys, 38 treat no transports or AMAs, so get called to the scene and the patient decides that they don't want to go. And then we had 26 hospital to non-hospital transfers, those are your nursing home returns. 4 public assistance, 2 appointments. We had 6 classes in April, reaching 38 students. 4 mutual aid intercepts, we were up a little bit this month, and then 4 public relations events. We did not have any, I don't have it listed on here, but we didn't have any cardiac arrests in April, so we didn't have any chest compression quality indicator, and our 12 lead time was up to about 87%, still below our goal of 90. Of the 195 911s on your second page, you have where those were transported to, with 135 of them being to Horizon Health, and your second closest destination is Union at 14. The top one at 31 is your treat no transports.
Questions?
When the nursing homes call, do they normally dial 911 or even if it's not an emergency type situation?
Yeah. There was a tendency, a thought to have them call a non-emergent line, but the problem is there's not always somebody in the bay, and we don't have secretarial staff.
Okay.
So it's just easier to call 911. We have sent the paramedic police truck out there when all of the trucks have been busy to say, lay eyes on the patient and say, hey, you know, this is not our biggest emergency right now. Somebody will be here just, you know, shortly, but that's only happened a couple of times that we've been.
Any other questions? I have one. We had talked several months ago about solving a legal hole, and where do we sit on that one?
I think Philip and I just need to connect and see if there's any potential for revision in the current contract, or if we're gonna wait and hold till you guys get into the contract rewriting renewal time.
But that's a couple years away.
It is,
Okay, well, as long as,
but yeah,
I just don't want us to sweep it under the rug and then we'll wind up in trouble, that's all.
I'll touch base with Sam and we'll figure something out.
Okay, thank you. Carl, do you want to talk about the meeting you've got in a little while with 911? Because that is important.
Well, several things. I've got new figures on the costs.
Right here.
Yeah. I don't have any extra copies.
Do you want me to make some?
Yeah, I guess, so everybody can have a copy of it.
I'll be right back.
yeah, the last couple of years, our costs that we are charging, 911 share of the cost has been around $33,700 some dollars every quarter. And it's been that way for the last 2 to 3 years. But things have changed quite a bit in the last year because we had the new contract. Last year, if everybody remembers, we went from 5 to 6 dispatchers. So we've got, with the 6 full-time dispatchers, I've got the total cost, full-time, overtime, health insurance, clothing allowance, workers' comp. For this current year, the total cost for dispatching is $442,748 for the 6 dispatchers. And with the agreement that we've had in the past, 45% of that figure, 911 has been reimbursing the county. But there's a substantial increase in the cost from what currently is versus the past. And I'm going to present those figures to the 911 board today. And it's going to amount to an extra $64,000 a year for 911 to reimburse the county. So, and I know they are going to growl about it, but that's our cost.
So that additional reimbursement is their percentage of the total increase in cost?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. And I know another thing that 911 is looking at is a simulcast system on the radios. I don't think most of you have heard that. They recently got a quote from the one company of $335,000 for the simulcast system. And there's supposed to be somebody from that company at the meeting today, so we can have further discussion on that. The tower, Jeff, you want to talk about that?
Well, I got a call from Josh Knight. I think it was Thursday night, and
A week ago.
yeah, roughly
Yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday night. And the folks that were up there starting to work on the tower found some deficiencies in the metal, including rust spots and so forth. So we're gonna get together. Of course, Russ won't be here, but we have a core meeting at 11 o'clock this Thursday. At 10 o'clock, we're gonna have a meeting and a phone meeting with the folks talking about solutions to those issues. So that's critical. My point, or the way I look at 911 and the way they're approaching things right now is they're rushing into some expenses that we have no way of knowing what the future's gonna hold right now. We have questions on the tower and how that might affect the ability of communications. Obviously, there's no one solution. We found out in the past, haven't we, Carl?
Right.
No matter what we try to do, nothing's 100%. And simulcast basically is if you've got 5 towers that you're using in the county, and if you're down in Vermillion, and you're trying to communicate, it's gonna pick out the best tower to use to initiate.
Send out the strongest signal.
Right, so that it's the one to use. And this system kind of checks all the towers instantaneously and then chooses the tower that should be using that's gonna give you the best broadcast situation. The other issue is we wanna make sure that, and I think our state's attorney needs to advise, if they're going to purchase something for $335,000, they need to be bidding it. There are more than one tower people in the state, and they may be planning to bid it, I don't know. But we need to make sure that if they're buying something for $335,000, that they're bidding it out, because there's more than one tower company in the US. I knew at one time how many towers there were in the US, and it is astronomical. Hell, this county alone has, I don't know, 10 or 15 that I know of, maybe more. So at any rate, but we hope that, I know Carl's gonna pass that on, that we need to, if they have any questions, they need to consult the state's attorney. Sometimes electronics, if you get into a specialization, only there's no place to go except one company. In this case, we believe that there's numerous companies that maintain the system throughout the United States and throughout the Midwest and even Illinois. So we want to make sure that they're doing that. We also will be faced with the issue if they do balk on these.
Unknown caller.
If we do decide to, I lost my train of thought.
Bulk on the payment,
Oh,
extra
balk on the
payment.
payment, we need to come up with a solution to that. I mean, our sheriff has suggested that we give them, they pay the dispatchers work for 911. I mean, that could be one of the solutions. You know, the other solutions is to cut costs, and the only way to cut costs is to cut people. And we certainly don't want to do that if we can avoid it. So they need to, I think, slow down 911 and look at everything that's going on. They're gonna be moving out to a new facility. There's a lot of changes going on. So I think everything in its time is what I'm trying to say. So, don't mean to get you in the middle of that, but we shouldn't be bidding out $330,000 if there are bidders out there to get us the best price. I think it's premature to even be bidding that out at this point, but if they're going to,
Well, I wanna know, it's because they have an issue with a couple of areas, or is,
Most of the problem is in the southern part of the county,
okay.
you know, just all along the south. And that's our biggest area. Most of the other areas of the county are pretty well covered.
Okay.
And there's a few little things. I mean, they did I can't remember what it's called. They did a map thing that using this simulcast, 95% plus of the county is covered using the simulcast, where now there's pockets, there's less than that coverage, you know, and mainly it's in the southern part.
well, they were gonna do a study on that.
Well, they did, and this last month, they gave us a map, and it's probably 98% of the, according to that study.
And they were gonna include the new broadcast ability of the tower. We're moving the tower up from the 200-foot level roughly
Right.
to the 500-foot level.
Right.
You going to a 500-foot level?
Well, it was 425 and 475, I'm sorry.
Okay,
So, I mean, but doubling the height
Right.
of.
where they are now.
Right,
But, you know, the tower, you know, things are, you know, kind of on hold with our tower on doing that, so
Well-
we don't know what's gonna happen with that. I just think they need to put brakes on for right now.
yeah,
You know, we've had conversation with the city is supposed, you know, with combined dispatch with the new
Right.
facility. And, you know, that's gotta be taken into consideration on, you know, if we do the combined dispatch on who's gonna pay what and whose percentage of that. So, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on right now.
the mayor texted me over the weekend and he is gonna call me the first of the week. I haven't got a
Okay.
call from him yet.
Yeah.
You haven't gotten any information from them then?
No, I haven't, and,
Remember, he,
yeah. And we also wanted to talk about other things too, so.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at there. Things are kind of up in the air on stuff right now.
so what did that map, they did a study, right?
They did.
What did that map show coverage was at? Or did it?
there's very, according to that map, very few spots that are not covered using the simulcast system.
The simulcast, okay.
Well, but what is it without the simulcast is what we're asking.
Well, I'd have to go back, like stuff they've done a year or two ago.
Well, I thought the whole point was to tell us two things. What it be with,
Well,
my
we-
understanding from,
We could go back to the old maps that we had, and it shows a lot of different pockets that are, I mean, they didn't, the other day when they came to that meeting with it, they didn't have the old maps, but
I still thought they were going to relook at, my understanding from the chairman was they were going to not only look at what the simulcast would do, but to update what the current system
they
is
didn't
doing.
do that.
Well,
You're talking about by moving it up?
yeah,
Right.
yeah, they were supposed to do that. I
I
was
don't know.
told directly that that's,
Okay, that I
Yeah.
don't know.
and that's,
I know I haven't seen that particular map.
Who would give them that information? Is that the company that
the
put,
company, they have all that information with our new,
Yeah, the people that do all of our radio equipment, Motorola up at Danville, it was
Yeah.
just bought out by another company,
Okay.
so it's a different company. They have all that information, they know.
our new
So,
call, our new number. I mean, we had to get new broadcast numbers and everything, so.
I'll find out on that, because the manager of the companies is gonna be there supposedly at our meeting today.
And I'm still hopeful that we're gonna be all right on the tower, but we'll just have to see.
Right.
But I think you gotta look at every option to make sure that we're,
Well, at the 2 meetings ago, I said, why don't we just wait till we get the tower, the antennas moved up and see if that does improve.
Right.
You know, they can do studies and maps, but
right.
that's not reality.
well, you
That's-
know, they've had issues and then people spent money and it didn't do anything.
Exactly.
And
That's
And
why I
they
prefaced that.
even said with the simulcast, there's no 100% guarantee it'll take care of everything. It won't. It's just the way it is.
It'd be far cheaper for us to buy everybody cell phones than it would to spend $335,000. And,
Which cell phones aren't 100% either.
well,
Not in my area, they aren't.
No, but does the radios work in your area? I mean, you got something.
Well, probably in my area, radios don't have a problem, but it's when you get down over Elbridge where it drops.
No, I know.
And you got
Cell
a few
phone goes
places
away.
over across the county,
Uh-huh.
down in there, that it just won't work,
Over
no
next,
matter what.
over next to the county line, it drops calls
Well,
always.
yeah, cell phones.
Cell
I
phones.
have all that problem
Yeah,
at the county line.
here's another thing that we were at a meeting, Lisa and I, and there's new towers going in everywhere.
Well, and I brought that up, and they said that normally those towers are not tall enough, because I said we might have options of putting on some of those additional towers, and as a rule, they're not that tall.
But as a rule, do they know?
Pardon?
They don't know for sure what they've got planning or their location.
Well, they don't know, but they said in general, most of those towers that they put in are not tall enough to take care of our problem. They said in general. In the past. We don't know what the future's gonna be.
Yeah, that's,
We just need to, Follow science.
it's another reason to slow down
yeah,
and,
because there's the things we don't know.
and I guess, if
You're welcome to come if you wanna
I
come. but-
can't today,
All right, but, yeah, I'm gonna pass it over.
all I do is get them excited anyway,
Well,
so.
yeah.
But,
Okay,
we'll, I'm sorry?
right there.
Oh, yeah, here, pass around, there's,
So did hiring a sixth dispatcher do much for reducing overtime? I know we have this conversation next week.
well,
Where is this mine?
I got that, I don't need that. I'm sure it did. you know, I can't give you an exact figure,
Because, you know,
but
we have this conversation with deputies, and you've said in the past that adding a deputy didn't really reduce
It didn't.
overtime.
no.
It added cost and
I think
improved
it's-
service, but didn't reduce overtime and costs.
No. I mean, I'm sure it reduces a little bit, but then you got the additional cost of the 6 dispatchers, so, you know, by doing that, it didn't drop overtime by $50,000. And of course, now, you know, we did the contract a year and a half ago, and then after we signed the contract, that's when they came back and made a big issue of needing 6 dispatchers. And we worked things out and, you know, accommodated it. And then now, just recently, they've come back again and said, we want to go to 12-hour shifts. Because we don't want to, we want to have weekends off some. So, you know, we're dealing with that issue.
And of course, going to 12-hour shifts raises the actual take-home
Yep.
of everybody because of the way you work it out, and then you gotta work out, well, what do you base vacations and a day by? When you get a day, is it an 8-hour day, is it a 12-hour day?
Yeah.
Is the vacation
There'll be
now?
additional costs to that.
Yep, there's just,
I mean, it's always,
the nice thing about that is though, is the board is one of the signatures, and the union can't do that, and the sheriff can't do that by themselves. We all three have to agree and sign the contract. So, I mean, if we make any changes.
I mean, you know that with, you know, your people, all the
Are you guys on 12s?
24.
EMS is 24, but
Oh,
my
that's
nursing
right.
staff is on 12s. They do 12-hour day shifts or 12-hour night shifts, and they work 36 hours a week, so they work 3 12s. But it does, going from 8s to 12s does increase the amount of people that you need to cover,
Right.
Yep.
to cover the schedule.
Yep. Yeah, what do we figure, 2 more for us to work that out? I think
Or even
that's what,
potentially, you know, just like the, you know, like if we end up with a combined dispatch and have 2 people per shift, we're gonna have 9, a minimum of 9 dispatchers.
so,
So,
every time you turn around to solve one problem, it creates 2 more. Or at least you gotta deal with other issues.
Does the law allow, sorry, permission to speak?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Does the law allow them to go to 8 hours, or is it?
for 12 hours.
I'm sorry, to 12 hours because if they're
They,
like,
they have to get
All-time.
approval.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
they have to get, I forget, the National Labor Relation Board
Yeah.
has to approve that.
Yeah.
but as far as being a 911 center, the 911 rules allow them to take calls 12 hours.
The way we've been explained, I mean, I don't know that personally.
I've never seen anything that says it can, because some other places have that. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know like, and this isn't comparable really, but like the FAA towers, they're regulated by time and how much time they're actually attentive to the calls.
just like truckers.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, the truckers gotta,
I don't know, I'm not a big fan of the 12-hour shifts. I think you kind of check out after a while, to some
well,
degree.
we wanted to make a big deal out of this, so you know what, everybody's aware of what's going on, okay? And Carl's our rep, so, what time is that meeting, 1? Well, we'll see. All right, Andy, I wanted to let you know that over the weekend,
Yeah, I talked to Larry this morning, I saw his call, I didn't see it.
he wanted to know whether we wanted to bore some of the electrical. There's a place to the north, under the driveway there on the north side of the courthouse that needs to be bored. Has nothing to do with, and it goes east from the driveway. That has nothing to do with.
This is the electrical lines, what he's
Electrical.
talking
Right.
about.
It has
On
that-
those pedestals that are on the outside of the,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
outside sidewalk, the wall,
Mhm.
that's what he's talking about. There's an issue, no electricity on some of them or something.
Right, and this one that comes out the north and then goes to the east is not related to the big project. In other words, the courthouse renovation and roofing and all that.
It just happened.
That just happened. Now, the one to the south, they're keeping separate. That has a problem too that was created. So we're keeping two bills
Okay.
because,
One they'll pay for, one's our fault.
right,
Or just, yeah, our bill, okay.
so then that needs to be done soon because
They're gonna
gonna have need of those
have, right.
boxes here. And if we wait too long,
And those are the ones for vendors' use?
Yeah.
Ray talked like, Jason said he'd get there this week.
okay.
And I said,
Well,
if you don't see him this week, call him.
go have
Get on.
breakfast at,
Yeah,
at the
probably. At
Track Shack or whatever it's called now. Because that's where you'll find him. And that's gonna take 2 or 3 times. Sorry, Jason, I'm just advertising for you. He gets a kick out of it, I'm sure. At any rate.
That's all
anything- any-
that I'm aware of, because I can't think of anything else.
Don't forget, we got the meeting at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock Thursday morning.
Yeah,
I have something else for you on the government center basement.
okay,
Don't wanna lose track of that as a storm shelter.
that's the Jason thing again. Okay, I'll, they complained about it?
Well, when we had the tornadoes and all that, they didn't wanna go down there because it was creepy.
It's always creepy.
I'm like, suck it up, but that apparently wasn't the answer they were looking for.
I know.
Versus getting them blown away in a tornado.
So there's
Oh.
a spider and it's a little wet, but of course, wet might not be good for electricity. but-
Jason was, yeah, okay.
But, yeah.
I'll get with Ray and tell him, get Jason over there.
We really should deal with it.
I know, I've had Jason, I've been there with Jason twice, and he said.
And I haven't been
He
down
will
there.
get back there and take care, well, you need to plug off part of the old sewer system.
Mm.
It's not connected, but it's still, it's not connected to the new, any of the plumbing that's there now. But, so it needs to be blocked off, and it's not that big a deal, but I can't get him there to do it, so. I'll try again,
Are we gonna, are the lights at all working down there?
some of them.
Okay. Well, a bomb shelter's a bomb shelter. They're not gonna be pretty.
No, it just needs to be safe.
Well, I think it is
It's-
safe.
It's certainly safe.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no
Well-
cracks in the walls or,
So I'll put
Do you have
that
a
on.
basement in your old house where you lived?
first of all, you had to go like this to get in there.
We have a meeting coming up on the 21st. I'll put that on the agenda. Department head meeting.
Is it every 2 months now, or? monthly?
Yes, they wanted it every other month.
Yeah.
But if nothing else, there should probably be some benches or some old chairs, something down there that they could sit on if they're going down there.
Grab a chair and run.
We'll go to some kind of a sale and buy a bunch of old church benches and put down. Anyway,
Okay.
Dan, what's going on out at the shelter?
Oh, no, it stopped out last week. She got all of her cameras in, so I think the 10 cameras on there. I got rid of some dogs down at 40, I think, so she got rid of about 10 that were adopted out. She's getting ready to go on vacation, so I think she's leaving,
Oh, she just went on a honeymoon.
she's gonna go on vacation now,
I'm kidding.
I guess, so she said anyway. That's about it. She had a thing in the paper, I think it was on the computer or Facebook. She had 4 animals to adopt out. One was a kitten, she adopted out the kitten, which is good. Can't take care of the cats out there very well, so. Other than that, everything's going all right.
She has smart cats out there.
Smart
We've got a
cats.
screen door that the latch doesn't work, and that cat, and it's a fairly heavy door, and it's a
Yeah.
little cat, she can go in and out.
Well, the cat can,
Yeah, the other day I let her out, and all of a sudden, she was standing next to me.
probably got it from you, right, intelligence?
Yeah, that's, yeah, I'm sure. She's a little smarter than I am, actually.
Oh, okay.
They could just test cats for their mousing abilities, you know? We could get a lot of cats
There's
adopted out.
cats everywhere around, everywhere you go around town, there's cats.
Yeah.
I just can't believe she can open the door when she's outside. Because, I mean, she gets her claws around there, and she keeps working at it and sticking her face in it until she gets it. I mean, it's the damnedest thing you wanna see, so. I know
Cats,
that's,
in terms of cats, you don't own cats, they own
I'm out
you.
of order.
They own you. Yeah.
Are you
Cats
gonna
own
talk
you.
about the
That's
ordinance thing?
Yeah, we're gonna
That
get,
guy,
oh, yeah. Yeah, do you have anything more to talk about, Carl? Okay. And Russ doesn't have anything. Lud, do you have anything this morning?
No.
All right. Yeah, you should, all have a copy of the ordinance now, so.
And he and I had communicated a few times while he was working on it, but he really didn't have
Okay,
any
we'll just,
questions to speak of.
we wanna make sure he's
Yes.
got the opportunity to put his 2 cents worth in it, or 4 cents, or whatever it is. Do we have an extra copy of it anywhere? When they spread those out?
he had an extra.
I need an extra. We can get one for Russ later. I wanna make sure the state's attorney has one. Thank you, sir.
And it'll also be posted on the county board section of the website. Thank you.
I've already asked Ross to do that.
Yeah.
Have you checked? I haven't
No, I haven't.
checked.
Well, I can report that Nancy and I attended a Zoom call with our Paycom account manager, not the person that is her day-to-day business calls person. But what was really good was, and we'll have these calls periodically, taking a look at all of the features of Paycom and what are we using, what didn't we even know about, and kind of identifying what we could and should be using. And so we kind of prioritized those, and some we're not interested in, and some they don't fit our organization, they would fit more in a corporate. But also then, and from this point on, I leave that to Nancy and her to communicate the details, but it gives Nancy a little more framework to talk about things at our department head meetings, to discuss some of the features and ask whether those are things that leadership wants her to learn more about or to incorporate. So it was a productive call. Nancy also stated that, Augie, you can maybe speak more to this one, that we had the IMRF audit report, and Nancy said that there weren't any big glaring issues, but there were some, as always, some things to clean up or to pay attention to. So I don't have anything else on Paycom, do you?
I don't think you've seen that audit, have you?
I haven't seen the audit.
Well, we
myself.
got off the audit exit call, and there were some items yet that they were asking us for. So the revised report, I have not seen, because that wouldn't have come in yet, because all the things aren't, she doesn't have all the info yet, the IMRF person. But you're right, because I asked her, overall, how are we doing? And she said, overall, you're doing really good. So there's a couple of items, I think it has to do with wage reporting, sending it in. But there's nothing significant, there's nothing critical, so
And that's a huge relief,
Oh,
because that was such
mercy.
a black hole.
Yep. Yep.
Angie had a question, right? The circuit clerk, Angie,
Well, did it involve her stipend not?
yes.
Yeah, and I think that might have been one of the things that Nancy was supposed to look at,
All right.
yeah.
7:08 board meets Wednesday morning. I don't anticipate any big issues there.
The, Bob Swires called me again, and I talked to Jonathan about that. And I guess, well, basically Swires said we need to turn in grant apps, because they would like to give us money down here for
Maybe
appropriate,
another-
yes.
Okay.
Now, he had mentioned that he talked to Jonathan about a kitchen remodel, but then when I talked to Jonathan this time, he mentioned that they need a couple more vehicles. So, I just wanted to make you aware of that. And, I kinda passed the ball to him. I asked him when his last day was as director, and he said October 1 or something like that. So, I think we need to step it up, and Bob said we need to get going on this, so.
So is that something for them to put on, for that administrator to put on his schedule for a set amount of time to put it on a calendar?
And you'd have to call Bob to find out what kind of, because he didn't give me the exact.
Okay,
Also, they were looking for a board member, but I think they had to serve up there, but you guys already had one, he thought that they were gonna suggest, and I don't remember the lady's name. But anyway,
okay.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
interject
thank you.
that.
Oh, that's exciting. I forgot to deal with the next link letter of support, but I haven't heard from Craig for a while, so, and it's back on my calendar to deal with for June. There was not a sense of urgency from him. And then, as I just mentioned, we have a department head meeting next Wednesday at 10 a.m. So if there's anything you want to be sure and cover, either attend or let me know. I haven't thought deeply about agenda, other than we always have the ongoing agenda discussion on administrator and taking a look at the bigger picture that Jeff and I had worked on a while ago. So that's all I have.
Paycom, I talked to Pam the other day, because at the last sheriff's meeting, they had concerns with Paycom on taxes and this and that.
We boiled it down to one person now.
Yeah, but she said that they got together, because I know Jacob was gonna get that meeting set up, but said they got together and kinda got things resolved, I think, for the most part. So I was glad to see that they got that done.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a source of contention.
Right.
Yes.
And it turned out like we thought it did.
It did, but it was nice to be able to provide the documentation to
Oh, yeah.
validate that.
Were you
We should-
at that meeting?
Um,
I mean-
yeah, the one that had Vicky and a couple of other people at it.
I don't know who all was there. Okay.
Was that the young
That's
man
it.
coming in?
Was Andy coming back in?
I don't know whether he's out there. I didn't see him out here, and I walked outside and I looked around, didn't see him, so I don't know.
Oh,
So just
yeah.
go ahead. He must have left.
Can you hit the highlights of the change? And we're gonna have a chance to go over this again,
Yeah.
okay?
You know, and if we, do you want me to arrange for Andy from Heil Royster to be on a call with us at our next study session?
If it's needed, I guess. I mean, if they see anything, if they don't see anything they can't live with, then I say,
Okay,
I mean,
all right. And then Andy plans on being here for our public hearing, which now we're looking at the June county board meeting, doing it in advance of that same morning. He said he'll be here. There weren't any big things here. The most important one for the solar folks is having a cap on the application fee. And otherwise, it was tightening up some language because I didn't catch everything in which the original template had zoning administrator. What I found reassuring was Andy also gave us a document that's more of a checklist for what happens after we accept an application, but before they start. There are things that have to be done before they can start. Because I always felt like it was not tight enough. It didn't have a good checklist. We just didn't, I felt it was just a little loose.
Hey, Lisa, excuse me. I made copies of
Okay.
that. Is this
Yeah.
is what you're talking about?
Yes,
I believe-
please.
Yeah.
And Dina did forward to me a couple more lease agreements.
So you, I don't know whether I have that or not.
I'm gonna have to leave, but this is the proposed ordinance that we're gonna
Yeah.
move forward on. It includes the LaSalle St. Clair factors. It looks like on number 12, there's 7 factors listed.
When you say number 12, where,
Roman numeral 12,
Okay.
page 15.
Yeah, we hadn't decided whether to retain that or not. The attorney explained to us that during that public hearing, if we discussed it and we decided to reject that, it could be pulled out. If we don't discuss any particular item and we can't change it before we pass it. Okay? So, I mean, I assume that it did, number 12 does include everything that we talked about, because we asked him to include it, and then we could pull it later. And if you have any thoughts on how you believe we should handle that, please let us know. You know, if you have one way or the other, or see, or if you're neutral, whatever. Yeah?
but that Andy recommended that we put it in there, right?
I'm not sure.
My notes
He-
said that, I mean, said, you can decide that later, but my recommendation.
Oh, the attorney,
Yeah,
yeah, not the other,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, he said
And-
it would make it more, what's the proper word?
it would make them go through some extra steps to,
And it could be, cause it to be challenged in
Yes.
court if we rejected it.
right, and then also it was for public safety and something else. There's 2 different things he said it would make them do some extra steps to just make it better for the public and just everybody.
Yeah, he said without it, it's straight mechanical.
Right,
With it, it becomes subjective.
Negotiable.
yeah,
Subjective is the word he used,
okay,
okay? Because it could be, you know, interpreted several different ways. And if we wanted to make it more difficult for somebody to, you know, to not get approved, that would be what we would have.
okay, all right, got it.
But I'm sure he can speak to that again
Yeah.
more eloquently than I just did. And that way, I detected that some like that, some didn't, so we decided to include it, and we can always
Take it out.
take it out if we have to.
Okay,
It just seemed like the safest way to go.
yeah,
So the permit fee part is on the bottom of page 14.
Yes.
thank you.
Thanks.
See you guys.
See ya, thank you, Philip. And the application fee is just $20,000?
On 14,
Yeah.
maximum of 250,000.
Oh, max, I'm sorry, I'm not reading.
The 20,000 for 4 megawatts.
Is the base, and then it just goes up from there, yeah.
Okay. I have
So-
100 grand in somewhere.
That's on the next page for the building permit.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in essence, we create two steps to this, whereas we only had one before, which made us all feel uncomfortable, I believe.
And were they gonna develop or have a template for an actual, maybe a page or a cover page for the application?
Yes, I'm glad you reminded me of that.
I mean, it would be good to have, this is what you need to fill out, and it also includes what you've got to include. In other words, kind of a checkbox with basic information so that we let them know that we expect this or more.
And Jeff, how are we gonna handle that building permit? Cause we don't do those now. We don't do building permits through
Oh,
the county.
we're going to.
I know we're going to.
Oh, you
But-
mean
But what's the
how?
mechanics of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
The
I mean,
logistics
where
of
do you
all
turn
that.
it into?
What is it, I mean, who's gonna issue it? Is it, I mean,
Well, it
And
would-
what do they have to have?
Well,
Well, that's what the
All
building, yeah.
Yeah.
that's
all
what-
of that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, that,
For not only the application, but on the building permit
yes,
also.
there's
That's where
gonna
I
be a
was
true
tagging on to
system.
that.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything from, yeah. And then it's gotta be board approved.
Yeah, I'm sure he can come up with something like that, surely.
I'm sure it's already exists out there.
Yeah.
Cause you could modify a zoning commission report to a county that doesn't have zoning. Okay?
This is all stuff you're gonna have the attorney, okay.
We probably should have put it a lot easier on you, Lisa, to send your stuff to him 6 months ago.
Yeah. Little did we know.
Well, we're learning.
We
At
are.
least we did come up with it. Now we've got
Yeah.
a really, I think, pretty good,
Did the state come through with something lately?
no.
Something Augie sent me. And it was in something about,
I missed it if we did.
Yeah, I got one of them flyers from, I don't know who it's from, was talking about, solar farm stuff.
Yeah, it was either UCCI
Yeah, I
or
think-
Yeah.
IACB.
Right.
Yeah,
and it talked about it. I started reading it.
I read it, but I don't remember now what it was.
I don't either.
I remember, I had an article about it.
well, you're looking at that. The audit was completed and it's being processed. The audit shows that we had spent $260,000 more than we took in. However, because of, and I'm not blaming Don, but because of the conditions that we had, quite a bit of income was not turned in by the time the audit had to be processed.
So we may not actually be 200
No,
some
it's
thousand.
gonna be about probably half that. But remember that we took a hit on the corporate replacement tax for about 300 grand. They used that money to reimburse us. In other words, I'm just making, we were getting 600,000, okay? And now we're getting 3
From
well-
what entity?
from the state of Illinois through a corporate replacement tax box. But they started giving us more money for the sheriff and they took that away from us. In other words, they took the 300 grand and divided it up and gave it to us somewhere else. And they didn't bother telling us, according to our auditors, till late year, that they weren't gonna be fulfilling what they did last year. So, we lost out there. And of course, we had, the sheriff's department had about $90,000 between grants and their deal with Shiloh School that we didn't collect. You know, and there was another $250,000 grant that got pushed or sucked into last year rather than this year. So, it's bookkeeping. But all in all, it turned out real well. Just so you wanna know, the retirement funds, 2 of them went to the plus, 1 of them's 3% off. So we're to the positive on all 3 funds if you put them together.
Great.
So we're meeting, more than meeting our obligations. And they said we're in excellent shape. We'll get you the letter. Did they, is the letter, management letter in,
I think it is.
is, okay. Well, I wanted to draw their attention to make sure that they looked at the management letter.
Yeah, it's in here.
Yeah, it's there.
I just didn't print 130
No.
pages of the
115
audit
or
or whatever it
118
is. Yeah.
pages was, yeah.
And I can if you want that, but
Well, I'll leave it up to each member whether they want a copy of that, okay? I just copied excerpts from it, rather than the whole thing. Don got some good news, on his problem with his leg. So, he's just waiting for the nerve damage to get corrected a little bit. I guess I shouldn't be talking about that. But anyway, you should know that he's doing much better and he feels better, so, okay?
If you could tell us his doctor can, but you can.
Well, I know, but I still don't like advertising somebody's health on the camera. Anyway, anything else to come before the meeting this morning? We can discuss the management letter a little bit more, Wednesday morning if you would like, if you got any questions on it. Yes, Austin.
I just wanna, you and I know Lisa was involved in the deadline to give Bethany our public hearing
Yes.
notice, and we will be in that window, cause she will have it by this Friday to be published the following Friday, which will give us, ballpark 20 days.
Perfect.
But with that, I would just throw out the possibility of having the public hearing at the study session, so if there are any
Well, that's a different.
modifications,
I think that's an excellent idea.
otherwise what's gonna happen is you're gonna pass what
True.
you've got and then have to schedule a special meeting to change something, just
Oh, I
Throwing
figured
it out
that you could have your crack staff just, you know, we get out of the public hearing and you just make the changes.
well, I guess we could do
Yeah,
that,
advertise that.
except that's not my document.
Good point.
So I'll throw that out, is that,
I think that's fair. Of course, there's no guarantee that we can get it changed in 2 days.
no, but if we have a Word document,
Yeah, if we have
Send
a
it
Word
to us,
document,
and
we can
it-
just change it ourselves.
and I can't imagine it being anything more than just a minor
Yeah, I can't
sentence or
see
word.
anything right now, but who knows?
We may not like the building permit, or the cover letter, or,
Well, we probably won't have the building permit itself, the actual pages for the 2 permits. In other words, the application and the building permit will probably not be ready. Because until we pass it, it might affect those documents. What's fair?
I'm feeling disorganized, I don't like that. Here we go. I guess I did have a couple of other things,
Oh, please.
if you don't mind,
Oh.
sorry.
Oh,
I see that we have the Hume Fire Protection District.
yes.
I thought that was worth mentioning, since that was,
Well, I'm glad you
a
brought
big bit
that
of
up.
discussion. So we have Kay fulfilling her role, her tenure,
Right,
and then David Smith
right,
for a 2-year, and David Keys for a year.
right.
And David Keys is Jeff Keys' brother, correct?
I believe so.
Okay, just trying to clarify that. Okay, so the good thing is, I think this was a pretty mutually agreed upon board, above board, and lots of people were involved.
Correct.
So,
The attitudes are very positive.
yeah.
I
so
talked to several of them this
good.
past week. Now, they're still considering, they are considering whether they want to go to 5. And so is the Paris Fire Protection District. Originally, one of the members was vehemently opposed, and the other 2 board members talked to him, and now he sees the value in going to 5.
Up there or down here,
In Paris.
up Paris?
Paris, yes, I'm sorry, I don't thought I said
I
that.
am.
So we're letting them determine if they don't want to, we're not going to. If they want to, we'll go to them. But they've got, one of the biggest issues was the more people you've got involved, and they've got several of the folks on the Paris Fire Protection District that may want to retire soon.
Right.
So if you've got 5 people, you're not eviscerating the board like you would if you had 3.
Yeah. And then bringing up the sale of the real estate, I am so glad to see who bought that.
Yes, we could finally make that
Yeah.
public, so.
Yeah, so it'll be a local business that,
We'll be on the
that's
square.
the kind of business you want on the square.
Yes,
That's a big really.
Smoke shop?
we alluded to that, we
gloves.
just couldn't say it earlier in
Yeah.
public anyway.
Still marijuana in the back room.
We make money on that.
And then the other thing was, I note that we have 2 people for the Board of Review.
Yes,
Now, is Teresa Pennington the one that's the retired librarian?
yes, but we're not positive that she is going to accept. She has sort of committed, but we left it on the agenda because we had to get the agenda printed.
Okay.
The other one's a firm,
All right,
yes,
good. Well,
and
Who is the other one?
Vic
Vic
Boyer.
Boyer, he's
Vic,
well
nothing
suited for
makes
this.
Vic
Lives
love
at
things
Christman.
more than crunching
Lives
numbers
by
and being conservative.
around Christman, Big
Mhm.
Lawyer.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he still lives up there
Yeah.
He does.
on 1800.
He lives across the
He's
pasture from my
painted his
mother.
house one.
Yep. Yep.
He's related somehow.
And then we've got
is.
Sue,
I don't know how.
His daughter was in my daughter's wedding. And she
I'm
was
trying to
in
think
there.
of Sue, she's from Kansas, she's on there too.
Susan Saxon.
Saxon.
And then, of course, those 2 ran an investment firm together.
Yep,
They, and Matt went in not long ago for a board of review, and he said, Susan was so professional and well-spoken that he was impressed with her, and he didn't know her. I did business with her, but he didn't know her, and that he was really glad that she was on there.
she used to be the mayor of, or the
Of
board
Kansas.
president of
Yeah,
Kansas.
yeah, I like her. I think
No,
she
we've
would
got
be
some
so
good
on there.
people there,
Yeah.
so.
Got a question for all of you. I was looking through these,
It's nice
The
that
bills?
Parts of the county.
there's nothing
That
for the
wasn't
sheriff.
easy.
No, it was,
Well, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
what is it, Carl?
On all these, the bills,
Yeah.
nothing listed for the sheriff's department.
Oh,
So, Social Security's not on there either, our checks. Or
Well, they-
insurance. Not on the bill either.
there are there, the insurance checks aren't on the bill?
No,
I'll look into that too.
Well, if you have to do whatever we have to do to get things paid,
Yeah, if there,
especially the sheriffs.
if there's just someplace that didn't make it to the report, then we'll be all right. Otherwise, Thursday, we'll pay those.
Thanks
When
for
we-
noticing that, Carl. I looked through it and I
I
didn't
did
notice.
too, I looked through it.
That's,
Does the press have any questions?
Nope.
Nope?
You're good. I have
Okay.
everybody's phone numbers if I have questions.
Who gave you my phone number?
It's out there. If my number has to be out there, then your phone number has to be out there.
I'm kidding.
I get numerous calls a day, trust me.
Me too.
Motion to adjourn? Andy moves. Lund seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Lund.
Yeah.
All right, I hope this works out okay for you. So all those in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay.
I think